that this possibly might be something to bring parity between Bedrock and Java.
Of the three, for me, this is the weakest.
I'll just kind of spoil it because that's what I do. Hello and welcome to Minecraft Lab, where we explore, experiment, and theorize about all things Minecraft. I am Minor Thoughts, and I am Team Crab. And with me is a man who is Team Penguin, I believe? The Troj.
I think I'm Penguin. I don't know yet. I'm hoping today's discussion will help me get some clarification, because I don't know just yet.
Yeah, see, that's a problem. That's the problem right there. There's not a whole lot of clarification when it comes to these mob votes that Minecraft holds or Mojang holds every year. It's fun, but it's frustrating.
I think they've actually done better this time than they have previously about what the specific benefit of each of the mobs will be. But to be fair, how can you give they're not fully fleshed out ideas? And it's something that we said back at the last mob vote on the podcast, is we don't always get enough information to make an informed decision. With a sniffer, if we could go back in time now and change our vote, would we? I would. I really would.
I don't think I voted sniffer. I remember what I voted for, but
I think I got caught up in the hype for the sniffer at the time and ended up going team sniffer. So yay, I was on a winning vote for a change. But in hindsight, with more information, probably wouldn't have, because they're sort of useless. You know, of the options that we've got for this year with the crab, the armadillo, and the penguin, I think we got better options than just digging up a couple of new flowers. Like, there's actual functionality to these things. Some I think are more questionable than others, and some have got more potential than others. But yeah, let's deep dive it today and see where we end up.
Not a whole lot of information, in my opinion. And the problem with that I'm seeing throughout the Twitterverse, throughout the Xverse, is assumptions. People are assuming things, these different things are going to do something that hasn't even been stated. They're assuming things, and we're going to get into each of those things and the arguments for and against. You know, not like this is not going to be like a 2-hour episode, but
we don't.
I'm sure we could go on and on. Plenty of people vocal, including myself on X. But so where do we begin?
Well, let's begin. I think probably the best way to do it is go in order that they were announced. So let's have crabs.
I've never had crabs. Well, okay. I've had crab at Red Lobster, the restaurant, but...
Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate that. The crab. Interesting that they're adding it to the, what's it called? The mangrove swamp. I know a lot of people are going about, it should be on beaches, but I can say here in Australia, mangrove areas probably where we find crabs more so than what we find them on beaches. Now, you'll find them on beaches, but not in a huge amount of quantities. And the big ones like these ones we'll find them more so in mangrove areas. So it makes sense to me.
Oh, okay. Before we had met, I'd seen articles of the crab migration that you hear about. I don't know where that is in Australia, but crab.
That would be a sight to Australia, to the major cities. You're not going to see a whole bunch of crabs walking down the road. Nor to be riding kangaroo pouches, might I add. It is in certain areas that those crabs all migrate, in islands and stuff like that. So we don't have them everywhere. You do see a lot of people from certain areas of the world going, they should be on beaches. For Australians, it makes sense that they're in mangroves.
Well, and I was doing a little research about the crabs that these are based on. I could see how there might be a connection, and I don't know. This is just a theory. It's not even an assumption. So don't get me wrong, but I can kind of correlate. There's certain parts of the world where mangrove swamps are endangered, and then things within the swamp are endangered as well. Mojang likes to do things like that. If species are endangered or at risk, that they like to include those things.
And let's hope if they're taking that route for endangerment that we don't obtain the claw through unaliving the crab. Because of the three, the potential, again, we're talking potential, we don't know. It's the only one of the three really that says, you want my benefit, you got to unalive me, potentially.
Maybe. Crabs, from what I understand, do molt. They shed, their exoskeleton.
Yep.
Or whatever. So I can see where kind of like what's another mob in the frog? You kill a frog, you're not going to get anything in Minecraft. So I could see if you're just killing crabs, you're not going to get like a plate of garlic butter and 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 crab. I think it's going to be a dropped item.
Yeah, I think so. And it also makes sense to me because in Australia, I'm referring to Australian crabs, obviously, but we got one particular crab called a mud crab. We're very original with our names down here, find it in the mud, in the mangrove areas. And as a defensive mechanism, they'll actually throw their claws. So I'm hoping, and if you read the notes there that are on the website about the crab, it doesn't say obtain, it says find if you can find a claw.
Oh, okay.
So I'm hoping that means they'll throw their claw or they'll drop their claw as they molt it occasionally or something like that would be good. But the benefit of it is worth discussion, which is, to quote the website, to place blocks further away.
Right.
That's the benefit of the claw.
Now, the argument is why would you have the benefit to place a block 5-6 blocks away, but not be able to reach it to break it? You're going to have to move closer to that block to break it again. So people are assuming, of course, that if you place a block using the claw on accident, you're going to have to move closer just to break that block based on the information.
I think I think there's, when we talk about these mobs, there's two definite lines we should probably take. Is what we definitely know, what is without assumption, but what is the potential that, what's a logical extension of that?
Yeah, what logically makes sense.
Yeah. And placing blocks further away, there's also the potential, which they haven't said, but there's also the potential for altered PvP tactics. Like, you can place TNT further away. You could place down end crystals further away. You could MLG from further away, which makes MLGing easier if you have this. So there's a lot of potential that hasn't necessarily been said. But if you're placing something logically, to me, that's a logical extension of that potential of the claw.
I see the potential. And I had made some comments on Twitter. I'm just going to call it Twitter. That this possibly might be something to bring parity between Bedrock and Java. You being able to place blocks in front of you instead of sneaking and having to place blocks behind you. In Bedrock, you can do that. You can, it's easier to bridge or whatnot, which I would love to see that in Java. And if this thing allows it, that would be great.
If we take it at face value of it's just placing blocks further away, which is obviously something to help builders out for the most part, I think inventory is going to have to be looked at, because we're now creating a further inventory problem for builders. Builders are already complaining about we don't have enough space, there's inventory problems. And if on the surface of this thing, we have to give an inventory slot up to a claw, personally, I wouldn't use it, because I would preference to have another slot for another stack of blocks. Particularly when you look at something like that pyramid, which is 250,000 blocks, the last thing you want to keep going is from the top to your shulker boxes all the time to get your stuff, just so you can reach a bit further out. Hopefully there's a way to incorporate that without it necessarily taking up an inventory slot.
And I just don't remember that's what Ray's work said. He was talking about maybe this having this claw, if it gets chosen, will give them reason to do more quality of life features, something with the inventory. It'll kind of force them to look at that And even, going back to Bedrock, it'll be a confirmation of, even if it's just an offhand thing, Bedrock really doesn't have offhand. So maybe that'll force them to do quality of life for Bedrock as well as, and have offhand implementation.
Potentially, I can see them taking the easy road out though and saying, you can place it in your offhand and that extends your reach. That's what I think they'll do. I don't think it'll force it. It'd be nice if they did. But then even then, I would prefer to be holding a totem in my offhand as opposed to a claw.
Out of the three, while we're still on the crab, it is something that can be used early game as well as late game. Whether they do more with it or not, or if it's just placing blocks, it's something that could be used the entire game. Now we'll get into the other two, but those things, I'll just kind of spoil it because that's what I do. Once you have Elytra, the other two, useless.
We'll see about that. I agree with you. But when I'm now looking at what to vote for, I'll look at, as we said before, what is presented, the facts, what is their potential for? What else could it do logically? And I think the crab does tick that. And it is, in theory, it has a life to it. It has a function. It's got potential. The problem, one of the other problems I've got with it though is, and it's actually something for both the crab and the armadillo that I've got it's not intuitive. A new player comes along and finds a crab. What on earth is going to say to them, hey, that claw is going to allow me to reach further? Where's the...
Yeah, they're...
And, this is a thing that Mojang have with Minecraft at the moment, is it's not intuitive, some of the functions that they're implementing and things like that. The implementation will be important too, not just throw a function.
Oh, yeah.
It might be something that you never see. You never discover by accident. You never discover this functionality.
Yeah, implementation on any of these is going to be important. Setting the facts aside of what we've been given, they're going to have to tweak it. They're going to have to add or take away certain things. Again, going back to the sniffer, we really didn't know exactly what it was going to give us. And then there were things that were leaked or rumored that we never got.
It shows that when you don't get full information, people assume things. We can potentially get the wrong. That's not best longer term. I can confidently say, having done the sniffer shop on Interrealms on the server, never again will I go hunting for a sniffer egg. I don't need them.
Right.
Never again. So there's a whole thing that they developed for the game that at least this player is never going to go and look for. Now, on my channel, on my YouTube channel, I put a poll up a little while ago about one has to go. Which one? One of those things, right? And I put in camel, sniffers, sherds, and trims. And with a combined total of almost 80%, sherds and sniffers are removed. So they've developed these things that people don't care about, aren't going to use.
Right.
So let's think logically about this one that's coming up is, what is the best one for the overall? Not just because you want to have a special little thing or something looks cute. What's the best thing for the game? And after this discussion, the crab's probably right. It ticks all the boxes. Longevity of use. It's not isolated to one part of the game. Got potential. And it's a useful function to some degree at the moment. Yeah. It ticks all three boxes for me.
Yeah. And I see, moving on, kind of segueing to the next one, the Armadillo. I see a lot of people pushing for the Armadillo. I'm just going to be honest. I'm not a dog person. I don't have dogs at home. I don't, my daughter's had dogs. She brings them over, but they're like grandkids, which I don't have yet, thank God. But she brings them over, we play with them, and I send them home, and dogs are not my thing. But I understand, people like having pets in Minecraft. So the problem I'm seeing though is dog AI isn't the greatest. It's not the greatest. So even if you gave it armor, which based on the facts, craft armor. It gives you your dog better armor, but there's no trims, there's no dyeing it, there's no making it netherite armor. So if your dog jumps into lava, there goes your armor for your dog.
And
It's not going to do anything for it.
And as you said before, once the elytras come in, your dog don't follow you. They sit on your bed.
Uh-huh.
If we're going to give it the same, and if you haven't followed, the Armadillo drops scoots, and you fashion those into dog armor for your armor for your wolves. If we give it the same test that we gave it to the crab, functionality, does it have a functionality? Yeah, it does. A limited one, really. For the amount of people that use dogs and for the longevity of it, doesn't tick those boxes.
It's an early game thing.
It's an early game thing. It's a pretty thing.
Yeah.
Does it have potential beyond the obvious? No. There's no potential. With the crab, with the claw, it's got potential there to potentially move into other things that they didn't announce, like the PvP and et cetera, et cetera. This thing gives you dog armor. What do you do with that after that?
Right.
What do you do?
Yeah.
I'm not against dog armor. I think it's a good thing in the game, but not this way. Make it craftable out of leather. That's a no-brainer. This thing? Really?
Yeah. Right. And like with the crab, it's going to give off scoots. So there's, you're not going to go out to the savannah, slaughtering armadillos just to get armor for your dogs. You're going to have to build some kind of farm to get the scoots, kind of like you do with the turtles, because you're not going to get them just by killing them. So
of the three, for me, this is the weakest. Unfortunately, it's the most popular. But to me,
it is.
Thinking logically about this, about what's best for the game as a whole, is the weakest of the three mobs, easily. For me, it doesn't even come in as an option to vote for. Really, it should be the first one eliminated. It's going to win,
right?
Based on what we'll talk about at the end.
Yeah. The here today, I made some comments. People trying to lobby. I can't believe we're at this point to where we're trying to lobby, like in a democracy, for the votes for our mob. It's crazy, but I would be curious to see the analytics for these votes, the demographics, the ages, the different parts of the world, boys and girls and men and women that have voted for this and for the different mobs and even this year's, and see just how many are like casual players, just how many, are going to vote for the cutest thing, because we have a lot of kids voting, or they're going to be more technical or builder type that are voting.
Well, let's talk about let's talk about the penguin, and then we'll come back to that, because I think that's a whole nother line of conversation. That is how it's going to influence the vote, I think, is that major demographic, which is the casual player.
Mm-hmm.
That always impacts.
Well, this person argued that there were not as many casual players as I thought. You see, and this person was going for the crab. I said, reality check. I'm voting crab, you're voting crab, but you got to think to yourself, who is actually voting?
Let's have a look at that after the penguin, because no one wants to vote for the poor penguin, and I was on Team Penguin. With that being said, though, I think today's conversation actually may sway me towards the crab.
Well, see, and that's the thing about the penguin. It would be between the penguin and the crab for me if we had more information. But as the facts, what's stated in the blog post, penguins will give you speed and boats when they're in the water.
Does it say that specifically?
It said when you're in a boat.
Thank you. It doesn't say anything about water.
But it doesn't say anything about ice. And people are making those assumptions that you're going to bring your penguins into the nether, set up your ice boat roads, or put the penguin in your boat, and you're going to get the speed boost. I mean, even setting up a Dolphins Grace Highway for using dolphins where you trap them, like you've seen on Hermitcraft, and I've seen it done in a couple different ways. It's tricky. The cages that you have to put them in and all that. But there's so little information that we were given. I just don't see anything beyond being out on the water and getting an extra boost
By the same
like you
logic,
do from dolphins.
by the same logic, then we have to say the only thing that the logical thing that the crab can be able to do is just place a block further away. Using that same logic. To me, you're right. And again, it comes back to, you have to look at it in segments here. What are we told that it can do? It gives it a speed boost when you're in a boat. If you're talking about doing fast highways and that with the dolphin grace ones, I think this is not a logical, it's not an out of the park logical thing I'm going to say here. It should technically be easier to maneuver a penguin into place than it would be a dolphin. It should be massively easier. You should in theory be able to, penguins can survive on the land, so dolphins are much trickier in that regard. So we know what it says on the surface. It's going to give you a speed boost when you're in a boat. But then we can have a look at the potential. We said the crab had potential beyond what we were told. The armadillo has no potential beyond what we were told, unless they go and add stuff that they're not releasing, that we haven't discussed. The penguin has potential, logical potential, outside of what we were told. So it ticks that box as well. And I don't think it's outside the realms of possibility that the developers would listen to the feedback from the community, because they've got a track record of actually listening and saying, hey, if we do it this way, we can get added benefits. I hear people saying once you get an elytra, this is redundant. In a degree, correct. You're right. What if you could travel quicker that way?
Right.
Again, we don't.
That would be cool.
Potential. It's all potential.
See, even before they announced this, I had posted this in the Inner Realms Discord. System Z did an excellent. He's really good at mods, data packs. Coded a penguin into Minecraft, and what those penguins dropped were feathers. You could take these feathers and wood and create sleds. And these sleds, if I'm correct, System Z, if you're watching this, you could go up and down slopes, like 1 block high slopes, which is something you really can't do in a boat. You can go down, but these you could actually go up. So it had a little bit better functionality than a boat did. And I think something like that would be cool, instead of giving us a new boat, a sled. That would be cool. But that's all theory and
it's all theory and potential, but it ticks the box that there is potential beyond the obvious. I come back to the armadillo. You're going to get one thing, you're going to get one thing only, and that will be it. Who cares if you can dye it, upgrade it? Who cares? At the end of the day, it's one item that it's going to give you, and it's dog armor. There's no potential beyond that. That's it. It is what it is, The crab's got potential. The penguin's got potential beyond what was said, the different functionalities. For me, the reason I was on the penguin fence was because of the potential of it. What could you do technically with the penguin? And you see, I think Etho made a very interesting comment straight up, penguin, and you can see, you could almost physically hear his things clicking over here. Very smart man, obviously. I think he was the original developer of the dolphin speed boosty thing.
Yeah, because he was using the what do you call it? The Soul Speed boots and Dolphin's Grace to get outrageous speed. He was the original developer of that. So
that's actually a really interesting point. Hermitcraft set up that highway. They don't use it. They still use elytra, even though it's quicker. The Dolphin's Grace.
Right.
So does the mindset of the player go, hey, once I got wings, let's just go?
And again, you have to look at the players who's playing this. Some people might want to use boats or horses or camels just because it's fun. But, you have builders and hardcore players, people on SMPs. Most of the time they're using elytra.
Very true. Very, very, very true.
The casual player, I think the casual player is really it could possibly sway this vote.
I think it's not outside the realms of probability that the largest group that will vote is the casual player that may not be involved on the Twitter conversations. They might follow their favorite, YouTuber, who are obviously the big ones have obviously a very big sway on which way things go. It'll be the kids and the casuals. Now I can say, obviously, I have 2 kids, for those that know. And when I was telling them, these are the 3 options, instantly, their instant reaction to both of them, and obviously we're talking a sample size of 2 here, so forgive me, but instant reaction from both kids was, oh, penguins. That was their instant reactions. Then they asked, so what do they each do? So I went down the list, and the minute I said the armadillo gives dog armor, my daughter goes, oh, doggy armor. I'm voting for that one. So that's the mentality of just 2 kids. Crab didn't even come into it for them, not even remotely. So
yeah, that's why I told. That's why I mean, as much as I would like the crab to win, I think, reality is, it's going to go to the popular thing. And if you look at all the polls, crab and armadillo fairly close, but penguin is just nowhere on there. I think penguin's already lost.
Well, speaking of the polls, so last night, knowing that we were going to record this, I went through and I just found some of the polls. Now, this is at time of recording, so they may change. So Wattles on Twitter has the crab at 49%, armadillo at 35%, penguin nowhere to be seen. Then we've got Wattles on his YouTube channel, penguin nowhere to be seen, but it's armadillo with 50%. It actually swapped between YouTube and, which I thought was interesting. Then we've got Captain Sparkles, who has it actually pretty evenly split between the 3. You got crab at 39%, armadillo 34%, penguin at 27%. And might I say, Waddle's ones had on YouTube had 80,000 votes. Captain Sparkles had 70,000 votes. Phoenix, who's on Twitter, 33,000 votes. Crab and armadillo both even at 40%. Then you got iCraft MC with 119,000 votes. Has the crab and the penguin roughly at 25% each. Armadillo at 50%. And then Silent Whisperer on, I want to say that is on Twitter, has the crab at 50% of the vote, armadillo at 35%. On my own channel, not very many, but 50 votes. Yay, me. But armadillo's got 50% of the vote, and the other 2 are. So you're looking at that. Armadillo's on a whole. Right. Armadillo's going to get this in. Penguin, I think you can say safely, he'll be the one that'll be eliminated first, unless the casual voter comes in. The last couple of mob votes, it's reflected what you've been seeing. The general consensus is on social media. It's been basically in line with that.
Yeah. Well, I joked around and I said, I'm voting for the crab because it's blue. Yeah. Because, we had a couple blue mob winners, with the glow squid and the LA. So, it's blue. It's got to win.
Actually, that's a really interesting point, actually, of the 4 last mob votes. It's really
the sniffer wasn't really blue, but
I wasn't referring to the blue thing. What I was referring to is the functionality of it. It's really only the glow squid that's really had a use and continued to be useful. Like,
that is true.
Very few people use allays. I've used allays in the squid farm that I developed, which has been very popular. And some really big YouTubers have actually used that squid farm and run with it and gave them a shout out. So thank you to. But beyond that, there's not too many people actually actively using, because their AI is pretty derpy as it is. Like, they will drown themselves trying to get to objects, as an example. The sniffer, I think most people have given up on that. So the glow squid, the most simple use, people are using it.
Yeah. Yeah. I have an allay in my base that is trying to shove me off when I'm building, looking for whatever reason. I gave it a torch. Now every time I drop a torch, it's trying to pick it up and hand it to me, and it's almost pushed me off, to my death a couple times. But they messed around with the allay AI a lot. They said, this is going to be great, and then when they tried to implement it, it was a different story. They had to mess around with it quite a bit, and it's still not right. And that's my fear. Saying all that, that's my fear with the dog armor. And I'd mentioned this to someone on Twitter, that if you're going to give the dog armor, you need to do something about the AI. Make it so you can give it commands other than sit, stand. Yeah, implementation for any of these is going to be.
I think most people get a dog and they sit it in their bedroom or in their house. So good job. We're going to have armor on something sitting in your house. For me personally, it should be a close run race between crab and penguin. Personally, thinking logically of what's best for the game as a whole, based on potential, based on our discussion today, I'll be voting for crab. You've actually changed my mind.
Yeah.
Because it to me, it ticks all the boxes that it needs.
Yeah.
Yes, and it has potential. Correct.
I feel these mom votes, especially lately, really, maybe it's just on Twitter and YouTube and social media sphere, kind of getting to where people are after each other. Some people say it's toxic. Maybe it's not quite that far, but, people arguing about which mom's better. And Mojang not really responding to that, because any publicity is good publicity. If people are talking about it, it's good for them. I don't know. I don't know how that would work, but my thought was, I wish they would go back to the biome update, because I think with that, you could be in the background working on these biomes that you plan on updating one day. And then every year you're saying, okay, here's your choices. This is what the one you pick is the one we'll update this year. And then, the others that don't get chosen will go back into a queue, and we'll continue to work on those in the background here and there. And then, kind of mix it up and bring back, a couple different ones, or, one of the older ones.
I think they want to do that. I agree with you. They probably should, but I don't think they will, because I think they've got a very definitive idea of what they want to develop and bring into the world next. And if they give an option of what to develop, it might take them off that path. I don't think we'll see that for a little while. And I think if we start saying, what do we update next? You're going to have an over-clamoring amount of people going, the end, the end, the end. Why can't we choose the end? Don't worry about updating the savannah. We want the end. I think you'll see a lot of that argument. I think they're trying to avoid that. And that's why they're sticking with it.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of the end, thank you for reminding me. I'm saying it here on the podcast. If this is the end update, I will do the Hot Ones Challenge backwards, live on Twitch. I don't think it's going to happen, but I will stick to it.
You're dying to do the Hot Ones Challenge.
Yeah, kind of. I kind of want the challenge. I've seen Impulse and Skiz and Tango do it, and I'm like, that looks like fun, but it doesn't. It's probably not going to be fun. But
I think I'd need the next week off of work.
Yeah. But anyway, well, this mob vote 2023, the crab, the armadillo, and the penguin, hot topic. It's controversy in some people's eyes, and Mojang's just saying, yeah, just keep on talking. We like the attention. I don't know what they're thinking. You see, then that's a problem. You just don't know what Mojang is thinking. They're just giving us teasers of each thing, and then letting our imaginations run wild on the possibilities. So who knows?
For me personally, I think if you do break it down like we did to the three things, what is told, what we know is a definite, what the benefit is that it brings to the table for the longevity of the game, not just sections of the game, and what the potential implications and applications of this particular thing is. Really, I think you've only got the one choice that ticks all three boxes successfully, and that is the crab. And the armadillo.
That's my.
If you're on the armadillo train, please, for the sake of this game, get off it. Jump to the crab or the penguin. Get off the armadillo, please, because it ticks one box. One box.
It's cute.
Okay, it picks two. They're all cute. Even
Yeah, they are
they're
all
all
cute.
cute. They're cute mobs. They are. They're all cute. But please, forget about the armadillo. Forget about the armadillo. Pressure Mojang to give us dog armor a different way, and let's get something useful in the game.
If I was going to give my dog armor, it'd be netherite armor because they like to jump in lava.
They do. But we want to know your thoughts. What are you going to vote for? Let us know if you're watching this on YouTube. Let us know in the comments below. Reach out to us on the Twitter sphere. See us on Discord. We want to know, did we change your mind? Did we, like me, like myself, did you get swayed? Actually, that's some pretty good arguments there. I'm going to jump ship to another one. Did we go, no, we've just reaffirmed your already thoughts that, going to get dog armor? Let us know.
Yeah. As I said, shoot us an email, hit us up on Twitter. We're at mclab_podcast. Got it right. And our email address is minecraftlabpodcast@gmail.com.
You've been training for this one all week, haven't you?
Maybe.
Let's see how this mob vote rolls out. Go Team Crab. Let's hope we all get crabs.
Yeah. With a side of garlic butter. No, just kidding.
That'd be quite soothing, I'm sure.
Those kind of crabs, not the other kind of crabs.
Don't know how I'm going to edit that out. Anyway.
We'll catch you in the next one.
All right. See you soon all.
See ya. Bye. I'll just spoil it. I was not going to use a wood pun.
Ooh, changing it up. You're out of wood puns,
kind of. Yeah.
I've just got the outro clip for today's episode.